Good morning, dear students. Today I am here to tell you about these types of pollination. So, if we will talk about the types of pollination, or simply tell cross pollination, then it may be of different types. Insect pollination is the first one, which is also called entomophily. Then there is wind pollination, that is called anemophily. Then there is water pollination, that is called hydrophily. And there is another bird pollination, that is called ornithophily. And another last one is there pollination by bat, that is also called chiropterophily, not logy, chiropterophily. Now we will see what all are different mechanism through which these are possible. Okay, so flowers, when they are dependent on insect, so we are discussing first about entomophily. So flowers, when they are dependent on the insect for pollination, there should be some of the characteristic due to which the insect should come on the flower. So first one is they should be brightly colored, large, and it should be conspicuous. Okay, conspicuous means having variety of flowers. Okay, then petals should be bright, then the sepal, and they should develop some peculiar characteristics or peculiar shapes. Okay, then sweet scent should be emitted by the flower. Okay, then we have the nectar from the nectar glands, which is food for some of the insect, that should be secreted in the flower. And pollen grain should be sticky so that they can stick to the legs or body of the insect, so that it can be carried to another flower. Stigma is also sticky and rough, so it catches the pollens easily. So these are some of the characteristics which a flower should have, so that insect pollination can be easier. Next is about wind pollination. So if we will talk about wind pollination, so what is happening? There should be some of the characteristics. The first characteristic should be the pollen grains should be light in nature. Okay. Then enormous pollen grains should be secreted. Okay. Then, or it should be produced. Flower should be inconspicuous. It should be small. Okay. Then pollen should be light, dark, and it should be light, it should be smooth, it should be small, and it should be dry, so that easily it can be carried away by the help of wind. Then some pollen grain should be wind also. Okay, these are some of the adaptations or characteristics in which pollination by wind takes place. Okay, the next favorable condition is anther should be large and should be loosely attached to the filament, so that they can move easily with the help of gentle wind. Then you have stigma should be feathery, and it should be hanging on the top of the flower to trap the pollens which are moving with the help of wind. So these are some of the characteristics which is favoring the wind pollination, and we discussed about the insect pollination. So what all are favorable conditions which is responsible for favoring all these? Next we are having water pollination. So in case of water pollination, there should be also some characteristics. So you see, in some cases, first one you see in the male flowers float on the surface till they meet the female flower. In some of the cases you can see male flower should be small, then stalk, and should be produced in large numbers, while they are having the female flower should be solitary, and they should be born on the long and coiled stalks. So these are the types. Means the female should be having long stalk, female flower, and the male flower should be having short stalk, so that they can easily meet with them. They should be born and are born on long stalks, should be present. Pollen grains should be produced in large number because there is large chances of damage to the pollen grain due to the water. So these are some of the characteristic which is helping in water pollination. Then we are having bird pollination. So in case of bird pollination, if we will talk, so it should be first the flower should be producing the nectars properly. Flower should be colored, generally red, because birds are attracted to this type of flowers easily. Then they should produce plenty of nectar also, so that the birds can come easily for the nectar also. Then we are having the next is your pollination by pact. In that case, they are pollinated by the bats. Okay, so next we'll have advantages of cross pollination. So coming on to advantage, stronger healthy offspring will be produced. Then large number of seeds will also be produced. Then the crossing over cross is employed and for improving the variety of crops, development of vegetables, fruits. So all in today's market, whatever the fruits, vegetables are coming, they are coming by this cross pollination methods. Then there are also some of the disadvantage, and one more advantage is new varieties also can be produced through this process, cross pollination. The disadvantage is uneconomical process, and the quantity of pollen grain should be produced as maybe it is wasted in the transit, means it is uneconomical process. Second is plants are dependent on external agent for the pollination, so sometimes it is difficult for them to be pollinated because it is uncertain. It is not certain that totally it will be pollinated. Then lot of energy, food materials are also required to adopt various conditions for a plant to be pollinated. Then some examples of pollination you see. Insects pollination, here it is given of salvia and GMS, where you can see the pollination is there by the insect, where in case of salvia there are different conditions we have discussed also. Then in case of GMS, the male flower and female flower, means the male flower, that is the tassel, and the cobs that should be laterally at lower levels. So these are some of the characteristics by which we can pursue the cross pollination, and advantages of cross pollination also there with you. So these are the different aspects which are necessary for the pollination. Okay, now coming on to fertilization, if we will talk. So on the fertilization mark, what is happening once the pollen grains are coming onto the stigma, and once it is going inside the ovary, so what happened, there is a zygote formation, and that zygote formation is, after the zygote formation, all the different parts, that is the sepals, petals, etc., means all the non-essential walls of the flower, they gets detached from the flower. Okay, and only the zygote remains, which develops into fruit. Okay, and the fruit whatever you are having, the outermost part, the fruit is developed from the ovary, and the seed is developed from the ovules. Okay, so these are the small parts. Then you see for the generation of embryo, so there you have to see about the structure of the pollen grains, structure of pollen. Then there are vegetative nucleus and some more okay, generative nucleus and generative cells. Okay, we will discuss in the next class.